ITIL product and service lifecycle model. On the left side, we have this to ensure high quality of the services. Organizations do the following. Firstly, capture and process customer needs, requirements, and feedback, discover needs and opportunities, and design digital products and services, acquire necessary resources and build digital products, and deliver and support digital services. In short, we can label these as discover, design, acquire, build, transition, operate, deliver, and support. However, the 4 points that I just narrated, these are very high level. These are sort of key milestones in the ITIL product and digital service lifecycle. And these are the key activities of an organization that is acting as a product vendor and or service provider. And during this cycle, a life cycle, the focus of the management keeps shifting between digital product and digital service. It has 8 activities here as are shown, beginning with discover, then design, acquire, build, transition, operate, deliver, and support. These need not be always linear. It is not necessary that after design it goes to acquire only, because there may be feedback coming from operate, going back to design, and then maybe something else to be acquired, or maybe no need to acquire and maybe just modify something like a transition activities such as reconfiguring something in production. So let us understand these 8 life cycle stages quickly, or life cycle steps. Discover is about exploring and prioritizing needs and opportunities for the product and service. Then design is about creating the product and service solution, meeting or exceeding the requirements. Acquire is to procure or allocate resources required to build the product. Build is to create, configure, and test technology solutions constituting the product which is to implement it. Transition to deploy the new product into the live environment. Operate to operate the product to ensure agreed performance. Deliver to deliver digital services based on the live products. Support to restore normal operation of products and delivery of services when needed. Now, it's also possible that each different version of a product or service will be in a different activity of this life cycle. A new product might be or a service might be just entering into the discover phase, but a product or service that is already running for the consumer will be in the operate, deliver, and support stages. Operate, for example, is to continuously monitoring the performance of the product and service. Deliver is to respond to, for example, to user requests like service requests, whereas support is to manage incidents and disasters. Then further to this, let's move on to the next slide. There's a bit more here. This is a very nice picture of the ITIL product and service lifecycle model, showing all these 8 stages. You can see here again. I begin at the top here, discover, and move to the clockwise. Design, acquire, build, transition, operate, deliver, and support. Even though it shows like a sequential or a linear life cycle, as I mentioned, it need not be so always for 2 reasons, because there may be different products and services in their own step or activity or stage of this life cycle. And also because of the feedback from, for example, to build, to design, or build to discover, it's not always linear. There are some typical combinations where feedback goes backwards to the previous stages of the life cycle. On the right side, we see this shade or graded grayed area. You might recollect this is the symbol for yin and yang, the Chinese philosophy, where the opposite or different and interdependent activities, they form a unified, balanced, dynamic system. Yin and yang is like a balance. So, which means that the focus keeps shifting between product development and service management, and through these different stages of the life cycle. So, for example, a discovered, designed, and built product with some components possibly acquired will be made live along with associated services that will be based on these internal or acquired products. And these products or services will then be operated, services delivered, and the product or services supported. Another thing is that acquisition is for the resources that are required to build the product or service as per the previously thought of design. And the design would have been done based on the discovery. And afterwards, setting up those in the live environment requires transition, after which the operation can be done to monitor and ensure everything is running smoothly. But then there may be user requests coming in handled through the deliver activity, and periodically there could be, or once in a while, there could be incidents which will be handled through the support activity. So even though discover, design, and build happen for services also, it is possible that each different version of a product or service will be in a different activity of this life cycle. Now, in general, discover, design, acquire, and build happens more for products, whereas transition, operate, deliver, and support happen more for services. But this is not written in stone because this is a integrated product and service management life cycle. All the 8 activities are applicable for both product and services. But then they have to work closely hand in hand, because product is something which has potential for value and service is the one which enables and co-creates the value. So this model also embeds even the ITIL V3 life cycle stages. You might recollect if you had done the V3, then we had the 5 life cycle stages such as service strategy, service design, service transition, service operation, and continual service improvement. So those 5 life cycle stages are not fully different from these 8 life cycle stages here. Similarly, in ITIL 4, we had the 6 value chain activities such as engage, deliver and support, obtain or build, design and transition, plan and improve. So they're not fully different from these 8 life cycle stages activities. There are some things from their inherent or embedded into these and some not. But then previously, maybe it was more siloed approaches for the activities, but here it is all, they're all working together. And if you're also thinking about another model such as plan, build, run, and operate, then these 8 life cycle stages are nothing but very akin to the plan, build, run, and operate model as well. Further, the value chain describes 8 value chain activities that can also be called product and service lifecycle management activities. Each value chain activity includes steps, and to manage digital products and services throughout their shared life cycle, organizations perform life cycle management activities. From the organization's perspective, these activities form a value chain. So the word steps, by the way, for example, within Discover, we have the Discover process, and the steps will exist for the Discover process. Similarly, within design, we have a design process. Design process has its own sequence of steps. So therefore, every value chain activity shown here will include its own steps. Now, each stage or each step or activity here from the total 8 of the overall digital product and service management lifecycle may be owned by a single entity or multiple entity, meaning organizations. For example, the product lifecycle is with the product vendor, service lifecycle is with the service provider. Even in that case, both need to be integrated. The product vendor and service provider cannot just work independently completely. There will have to be handshakes between them quite regularly. But in some cases, the same organization could be the product vendor as well as the service provider. So if the main objective of the organization is to manage the digital product and service, then we have a value chain with 8 activities together named the value chain of the organization. If they do something else, they will have other activities that are not shown here. However, ITIL thinks or assumes that these 8 are sufficient, and they map well to the similarly named 8 stages of the digital product life cycle. These the product and service life cycle. Now, the activities are also enabled by multiple management practices of the organization. The ITIL practices, that is. Each practice is supported by 4 dimensions. And so from now on, the stage or step or activity will have the same meaning. These 8, that is. Now, one more thing, compared with the ITIL 4 service value chain, the value chain in version 5 are represented as independent stepping stones than in a cube format as in ITIL 4 in the visual representation. And version 5 does not mention plan, engage, and improve. It does have the other ones that are shown here. And yes, discover was also not there at all. And whereas discover is there in version 5, it did not exist in ITIL 4. So in summary, version 5 does not show the activities of plan, engage, and improve. However, planning occurs in each of these 8 activities. Improvement also can happen in any of these 8 activities based on feedback between the steps. For example, the transition can provide feedback for a better build, design, or acquire. In case of product or service improvement, all stages, the 8 stages will include improvement. Improvement can also be triggered within each of these 8 activities without feedback from another ones. Engagement with stakeholder will need to occur in all these activities. So you see, if you're coming from ITIL 4, you can see that we are not totally ignoring the ITIL 4 concepts. Now, discover works with other stakeholders to assess the needs. Design works with some stakeholders as well. Acquire is mainly with the suppliers and internal sources. But it is acquire is with the suppliers mostly. Build is with other teams together, external testers and suppliers as well. Transition, we have multiple stakeholders depending on the nature of the transition. In operate, we have third parties possibly involved in operation. And deliver is for the users, along with users. Support also is for the users and also suppliers who can perform or provide support. So these value chain activities create a flow that creates value in the form of product and services. In ITIL 4, value chain is the operating model of the service provider as per the original view of the operating model canvas by Andrew Campbell. Whereas in version 5, the value chain aligns to the operating model concept for product vendor and service provider. And it does not include locations of the original operating model definition of ITIL 4 due to digital product and services. So there is much less of the physical location needs or almost no need. And it is replaced by technology now. An example operating model, as I mentioned earlier, could be a barista with the various core activities to make and serve customers with coffee, sandwiches, and so on. Or they can deliver also what is produced by other restaurants. So many combinations are possible. Now, these value chain activities need not be performed in sequence. Just an example, I'm thinking from a non-ITIL perspective, might be a little funny though. Let's say I want to eat something, then I have to clean some utensils and then cook and then serve myself for others. Or I could even directly serve. So if you look at this model, in the older version of ITIL, we had activities such as cleaning, cooking, then serving. But in ITIL version 5, what we see here is I could directly serve if the meal is ready. So that's how we can understand some differences. Now, this operating model, it depends on the nature of the activities being performed. An organization may only support a product such as printer repair and not explore its market needs, design solution, build it, etc. Therefore, the ITIL practices that will support repairs will be mainly incident management, service configuration management, service desk, IT asset management. Whereas a service provider for Microsoft products will do only transition, operate, delivery, support, and not discover, acquire, design, and build because that is already done by Microsoft.